Welcome to Black History Matters 2022, presented by the National Abolition Hall of Fame and Museum, also known as NAHOF, located in Peterborough, New York. Black History Matters is an educational series that seeks to highlight historical events in the Black American experience. This series consists of 28 videos that NAHOF will release daily through the month of February 2022. Videos are viewable on NAHOF's website. The mission of the National Abolition Hall of Fame and Museum is to honor anti-slavery abolitionists, their work to end slavery and the legacy of the struggle, and strive to complete the second and ongoing abolition, the moral conviction to end racism. This program was funded in part by Humanities New York, with support from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Betty Brown Bibbins. Dr. Bibbins grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia, where she would participate in the desegregation of Virginia schools in the 1960s by being the first African American to attend Cradock Jr. High School. She received her Bachelor's of Arts from Connecticut College, her Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from Hampton University, and her MD from Eastern Virginia Medical School. Dr. Bibbins is currently retired, but worked as a physician executive educator, an administrator of physician documentation, and a clinical documentation improvement consultant. She was also the founder, CEO, and executive physician educator of DocuComp LLC Healthcare, which provides physician documentation education and continuing education. And she was also the founder of DocuComp Document Institute, a clinical documentation specialist, physician documentation, and physician advisor professional training and certification program. Dr. Bibbins also founded and served as the Dean of Faculty of DocuED LLC, the first nationally recognized program that provided clinical documentation specialist education and certification for hospital clinical staff and supporting personnel. She has also authored several books, including Inpatient Documentation Tips for Physicians and Essentials of Observation, numerous articles and publications such as JustCoding.com, Journal of Healthcare Compliance, and Healthcare Compliance Association magazine. Dr. Bibbins has also participated in numerous presentations and webinars and continues to build upon her extraordinary life as an activist. We welcome her to our series and would like to thank her for her time. Additionally, we would like to thank the organization Desegregation of Virginia Education, a project created to identify, locate, catalog, and encourage the preservation of records that document Virginia's school desegregation process, grades K through 12, and higher education institutions from the 1940s to 1980s, whose link you can find in our video description. And I'd also like to thank Ann Jimerson, Dove's state co-chair, for putting us in contact with Dr. Bibbins. Please note this is part 2 of a 2-part interview. I highly suggest that before watching this video, you watch the one that we published on February 14th, also available on our YouTube channel, so that you can catch up with Dr. Bibbins' story.
Well, I heard the adults talking, so I knew integration. I knew that Blacks we were being allowed by law, or we're going to force our way into areas that we were not allowed in the past. It was presented to me as, again, this is something that needs to be done. And I did not look at it as tearing anything down. I just looked at it because of the perspective of my parents and all of their friends, because we were always having civil rights meetings in our home. It's either at church or in someone's home. We couldn't go but so public for it. My parents couldn't go but so public for it. And like I said, I spent all my time in the kitchen eating. So I just sat there eating when they were having meetings in the dining room or the kitchen and just listening. And the way they discuss things through, we can do this, we can do that. This is what is going to happen. This is what we may have to, survive or live through. But it was not anger. It was factual. This is what we're going to do. And it was just planning and organizing, and everything was done logically. There was emotion in it when we have to get this done, but it was the emotion of we're going to win this game. We're going to get this done. It wasn't that it was, I didn't see it as something, even though it was life changing, but it was just something we needed to get done. And here, all my parents talked about and all their friends talked about is what we were going to get done and how we were going to do it. And it was going to get done. And it was just the strong positivity within the community of, we're doing this. This is the time, this is the place, and this is how and just to hear all the detail of planning of what was being done to do something like go and sit down at the uh, the restaurant in the 5 and 10 cent store. That was major groundbreaking activity. But to me, it was just, we're just going to go and we're going to get a soda and we're going to just sit there until we'll see what happens. And what happens is either you're going to be thrown out, you're going to be arrested, you might even be killed. But that's we're not going to go that far because it's not going to happen. We're going to get there and we're going to end up eating. And so after we did all this, and yes, students were drug out, people were drug out, people were thrown out, but then the laws changed. And just going in there and eating a breakfast, I just went on my own one day. I was downtown doing some other stuff. My mother was in the next building, and I just said, I want to see what I can do over here. And I just went and asked for something at the 5 and dime store at the counter, and I got it. And I was so neat. I was so proud. I went back to my mama with my drink and everything, and she said, "Bedloo, that was nice." And it was just everything that today, when I look back on it, it was massive, but it was just like, okay, Bedloo, you're doing fine. This is life. My parents took this because of my father's experience of what life could be, and my mother seeing life outside of the South. This was not as much of breaking down walls as just tweaking things to get where they were in other places. And so this was just a different reality. I have two different worlds of reality I lived in that really didn't mesh, but they did. And I can't put it any better than that, other than I feel that's how at times I can compartmentalize so well wherever it needs to be, I can put it there and it doesn't bleed into other areas, and it doesn't make me feel frustrated or schizophrenic that completely opposing things are happening in my life. This is where I am right now. This is the location I am now. When I'm in another location, I think differently, and it doesn't bother me to have the different thoughts. And so throughout my life, I've gone through challenge after challenge after challenge that I didn't take as pushing me back, but just like, how am I going to get by this? And I'm going to. And I don't even think about not succeeding. I don't say I succeed all the time, but it's just kind of, how can I get around this? How can I do this? How can I go above, below, around, or through something to get to where I feel like it needs to be? It may take some time, it may not, but it has allowed me to not go around with a knot in my stomach about everything, so many things that are just so wrong. And I see it as wrong, but I don't see it as being beat down by me. I see it as something that just needs to be changed, modified, destroyed if necessary, and rebuilt. Always have to have a rebuilding. You can't just destroy to destroy, destroy and rebuild, and how it should be rebuilt, and take it as a challenge. And sometimes there's a lone challenge person as the only one who sees it as that. But again, I I listen and I respect other people's opinion, but doesn't mean I'm going to follow it or do anything with it. I was the first Black to integrate Cradock Junior High School. There was a young man, and I can't remember his name, who lived a few blocks away, who integrated the high school the same year in 63 that I integrated the junior high school. I was the only Black there. It was very intriguing. My 8th grade, when I went to the high school, there were not that many Blacks that came that year, but the year after that, a significant number of Blacks were coming more to Cradock. And some of the greatest challenges I had was that not many, but a few white students had started talking and interacting and felt comfortable with me, and I felt comfortable with them. And a number of the Black students had problems adjusting to me already being familiar with the white students and seeing a couple of them even as friends, whereas a lot of other mindsets were more of a militant nature, that we're coming here, we're breaking down this wall, and we're going to fight. We're coming here to fight for our rights. And my philosophy was, we're doing what I need to done. I've been doing it for the past couple of years. And a number of the other students didn't know that I'd already been there. So labels were attached that basically she's a sucker upper and we won't go to other ones. But no, I already knew some of these people and I did not have a militant mindset. So I can say if I had many challenges, I had as many, if not more challenges with other students of color who were just coming into Cradock, integrating Cradock more than I did with some of the white students there who I'd known at that point for 1 or 2 or 3 years. And so again, I didn't let it bother me. Those that accepted me and who, whether they, I don't know how they judge me, not those that interact with me and I interacted with them without a challenge were fine. Those that didn't, I was fine too. And so it evolved over the years that a steady state, I'm not going to say a peace, but a steady state evolved. And actually, a number of students that I would have sworn if I had to put money down, that there was never going to be peace among students of color and non-color. There was more integration and acceptance of people as human beings over the years that I was at Cradock High School. But by that time, I'd already developed my compartmentalism, and I still, if I did something or interacted with others, fine. If I didn't, to this day, I can go somewhere. I don't feel uncomfortable in strange, hostile, or any different environment because I have spent so much of my life being the only one. And again, back to compartmentalization, it's nice. I'm not going to deny that it's not nice to have friends, that it's not great having someone to be able to talk to. But if I don't have it, I can go to a movie by myself and totally enjoy it. I can go out to dinner by myself and totally enjoy it. I can go on a vacation by myself and totally enjoy it. I'll meet people. I'll interact when I feel like it. I won't interact when I won't feel like it. When I see something I want to do, I'll do it and I'll be fine. And I can actually get joy and not worry about, oh, I'm alone and nobody else is here with me. And that is one of the, I feel like the most beautiful things that I have learned is that I've had a lot of life experiences that if I had waited that I had to have somebody else with me, or if I felt at the point that I couldn't do it alone, then it wasn't going to get done. That I have never had that type of belief, and that I do what I feel like I need to do, and I can be very happy and satisfied as long as I feel I'm getting done what I need to get done and I'm enjoying it myself. I truly enjoy it myself, whether others around me enjoy it or not. That's optional. And at some points, I don't care. I rarely say it, but it's to the point that you can go off and do your thing. I'll go off and do my thing, and we can join back together at a different time, different place, and do what needs to be done. So, if anything, I can say honestly, the way that I was introduced to civil rights and to integration, and it was made a part of me, is that we have to work for the way things we want it to be. And all we can do is continue to work in that direction. I don't take it as a hostility, and I don't necessarily, when it's meant to be taken personally, oh yes, I take it personally. But if it's meant to be just a generality, like I don't like coloreds, okay, or something like that, I said, that's your problem. That's not mine. And I can still function very efficiently. I don't always have to be in the forefront. I'm doing it more now just because being a physician myself, I've had some people say, "You ain't a physician." I said, "What is your problem?" I've never seen a black physician, or I've never seen a black female physician. So you ain't, exact words. You ain't a doctor. I said, "Oh, yes, I am." And so, but I don't have to prove it to you because I know what I am, and so be it. So I mean, going on every level, I've had to either prove something or not. And I'm the only one that I need to know that I truly am. Sometimes you kind of do stuff to ram stuff down people's throats just because you need to. But if that becomes an objective, then what the heck? I take it as a fun thing. Let's see how far we can get. Sometimes you have to in life. But I don't let it break me. And I have to be very proud to say that I have a husband who understands me, and he's a researcher. He's a detail person. And so he's more quiet than I am, but he's a detail person, and he loves the ifs, ands, and buts. And so he's figured out that when I do something that he even may seem unique, he knows I'm doing it for a reason. So we understand each other, and that's why we've had a very, very long and very, very beautiful marriage, because we understand each other. We're completely different human beings, but we appreciate the uniqueness of each of us, and we don't have to be carbon copy copies of anything and be a Bobsy twins on everything. Oh, yes, this is another, it is another challenging and beautiful um, life experience to get me to where I am today, and paying it forward. Why I have such a strong commitment to paying it forward. Going back to high school, going through everything, my parents gave me the foundation of survival and proper perspective for life. Okay, life is rough on everybody. It's not there to beat you down. Sometimes it's there to challenge you. Take it as a challenge that you're going to try and win. My father died my senior year in high school. I planned on going to Howard University. That was his alma mater. That didn't happen because we didn't have any money. And so my mother worked her darndest with what little burial money we had from that. And I went to school here in Virginia, I'll say, for the first year. One thing my father had paid for before he passed was a summer program at Hampton University, priest college, introduced like a basic English and a basic math for preparing high schoolers of color for college, so we don't get shocked the first semester and don't do well because of the different environment from the various high schools that may or may not have prepared us for college. And so I went to Hampton University for a program, and one of the instructors there was from um, the Northeast. He had come down, he was a white professor that had come down to Hampton for the experience of Southern Black education as a teacher. And he was an Ivy Leaguer. So during the program, he let me know, he said, you have some really good potential. And where are you going to school? And I went, at that point, I just said, I don't know. I may end up, if I go to school at maybe local, because my father just passed. One of the last thing my daddy did was pay for the summer program, so I was able to go to that. And so he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I would love to go to college, but I don't know what my future is. And I'll do whatever I need to do to get where I need to be. He says, okay, let me see if I can help you. Have you ever thought of what schools you'd be interested in? And I said, I had been exposed to all girls school. And I was in the back of my mind, if I if my father weren't encouraging me to go to Howard, I had always thought about all girls school, because in New Brunswick, New Jersey, the female school to Rutgers was Douglas College. And my mother had taken me to Douglas College, and I thought it was so neat. An all girls school in the northern city was neat. And I had said, Mom, can I go to Douglas College? And my mother had challenges with me going to Douglas College because my father's family, she did not want me to be, but so exposed to it, to put it mildly. But to be honest, a significant number of the young ladies in my father's family all had children out of wedlock, and that was a big sin in Virginia. And just the lifestyle of northern urban areas was totally opposite of what my mother saw her Southern Belle child as being exposed to. So Douglas was not going to be in the cards for Bed Lou no matter what. I figured that one out after the fact. But that still kind of peaked in my mind. But I kind of I said, okay. So Howard it was, and because my mother could live with that. And so I told this instructor, about my interest in Douglas. And he said, okay, uh, let's go put some other names of some other schools. And so he then made a list of some names, and most of them were Northeastern Ivy Leagueish type of schools, just because of my interest in Douglas, which I hadn't expressed to anyone other than my mother and to him. And so long story short, unbeknownst to me, he wrote a letter, a personal letter in the summer of 1969 to a number of schools, and one school in particular, Connecticut College, wrote back to my mother, called my mother, and offered me a position that September at Connecticut College. My mother never told me of that acceptance because she wanted me close to home because my daddy had just died. And they offered me a scholarship. The only way I found out about it was when at Christmas time, I said, let me go over and say hi to my teacher at Hampton. And I went over and he said, how do you like Connecticut? I went, what? He said, Conn College. They offered you a scholarship. Dean Jewel Plummer Cobb, who was the first Black dean of the college, had offered me a scholarship and admittance based on the letter he wrote to Conn College. And I went home and I lit into my mother up one side and down the other, to put it mildly. And then I contacted Conn and I said, can I reapply? Can I apply? What do I need to do? I am interested. I didn't tell him that my mother didn't tell me. I just said, what do I need to do? Long story short, they said, we will hold a slot for you for next year. And so, to put it mildly, it was very, very rough there for me and a while for my mother. But we, to a degree, got back together. And she said, okay, fine, you can go. So I went to Conn the next September. And then my mother passed that next May, the first year I was at Conn. And so both my parents had passed between my senior year of high school and my first year of con. And I just thought my life was over. My first semester at con, I did not do all that well. I did not do well at all as far as grades because I was so caught up in being excited and being somewhere Northeast I'd never been before. I mean, I had to take a bus up there. My mother couldn't afford to go with me. I was in a completely different environment. Didn't know anybody, didn't know anything about anything, and just got caught up in wow, the world, and studying was kind of secondary to just experiencing everything. So I just knew once my mother passed, I said, it's no way. I know I don't have any grades worth talking about. And I'll just see what job I can get when I get back home. So before I knew it, Dean Cobb called me and said, so what are you going to do? And I just broke down and said, I don't know. And she says, well, you coming back here? I said, what? She says, we got you covered. And they had actually gone out of their way. They got me a job at Norfolk Community Hospital as a lab tech. And Conn College took care of me summer as well as the school year, give me summer jobs in Virginia, Portsmouth and Norfolk, Virginia, full scholarship, work study on campus, and got me through Conn College and got my degree. And like I said, initially I wasn't the strongest of students, but one thing I found out, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday courses, when you go for just an hour or 50 minutes at a time, you just, I just didn't focus with everything going on in my life. But when I came back after my mother had passed that next semester, I hadn't had a chance to pre-register for anything. So all I could get were the compact courses, the 3-hour courses. So each day I would have 1 3-hour course, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You took 4 courses, 4 credits each course, 16 hours a semester. I had 1 class a day, but I found out that that's what made me snap. Once I stayed there after the first 45 minutes or so, I actually started engaging in the course and became a participant. And so I found out that this quick in and out, I had too much energy to just do a 1-hour course. So these seminar type courses have always done better. I went from 3 Ds and a C to 3 A's and a B, just based on me sitting in one place and settling down for the first hour and then actually learning and participating in the course. And I ended up doing very well after just learning that seminar courses, and I do well in concentrated courses, and it actually lets me focus better. So I finished con, and then I met my husband before I left Virginia, and so we dated intermittently while I was at school, and then I got married after that. Long story short, I was just couldn't do anything with the BA in zoology, so I went to nursing school and worked full time, and went to nursing school full time, and get an associate degree from Norfolk State University, then a bachelor's degree from Hampton University, and I was working on a master's in nursing, and that wasn't going to happen because they're just starting master's programs, and I would have had to go to Richmond to get my master's. One of the few times someone said no that I listened to, my husband says, no, you're not going to be living in Richmond while I'm here working in Norfolk. So out of frustration, I applied to Eastern Virginia Medical School that was just starting in Norfolk. And I applied, and my husband, who was working there because he had his master's in genetics and he was working at the medical school, took me to the dean of students, and basically the dean just said, all you can do is apply. And that was the whole discussion. All you can do is apply. You either make it or you won't. I went, that sounds good to me. And I applied early decision so they could reject me and get it over with. And lo and behold, they accepted me. So here I was, and went through a 3-year medical program and practiced medicine, and went into OB-GYN and all the controversies included in OB-GYN, and felt very good with it, successful. And then I started a business in documentation when a lot of changes occurred in medicine, and my nursing background, actually, that's why I used MD, BSN. A lot of my nursing background came into effect back in the 1990s that impacted significantly. And I started my own consulting firm working with hospitals to help doctors in documenting medicine so that insurance companies would pay them and doctors wouldn't be accused of fraud and abuse in healthcare. And so that grew for about 20 years. And then I sold that in 2017 and retired. One of the strongest things that impacted me was hearing discussions, decisions, and plans on how to change the world as we knew it. I didn't take it as that as a child. I just heard my daddy and his friends sitting around talking and drinking and eating and talking about how they were going to do this, how they were going to do that, how they were going to go into the library just to check out a book, as if it were something that everyone did every day, knowing the importance and the impact. One of the things I am so fearful of today is, I'm sorry, social media. I know everything, there's positivity to everything, but we have gotten so complacent that we don't hear facts, that lies are given as much attention as the truth. And I'm afraid that we have become complacent and we accept non-truths as truths. And what we need to do today is to continue to get more active, and we need to have those of us, our community, that we can believe in, who are dedicated, not for the sake of just social communications, but for making true changes in our community. And I'm seeing it to a degree, but I'm also seeing those who are there to take us backwards getting just as much attention. Those who are there to just say, well, you can do it, but you can't do it without money. Give us all your money. My heart, like I said, I'm an advocate and an activist. Money is secondary to me. The best thing I can do, and I still do a lot of things myself, everything I can, is to go out and help and participate in activities myself. I know people have to work, people have to live, but just giving money, that's how people get flim flam so easily. I mean, someone comes up with espousing great things, but the bottom line is just give money and then I'll do it for you and it'll get done and make you feel good just by giving money. I feel good by doing things myself, by going out and actively participating to see what needs to be done and do what needs to be done. Yes, I donate, but I donate my body and my heart as well as I donate my money. And so I wish we could work more with activism, getting students, just people, knowing that just throwing money at everything is not the way to do it, as much as putting your heart and soul and your body into it as much as you can. And just doing by showing. It's so many students that had never thought of going into medicine because they had never seen a Black or female doctor or businesswoman. A lot of people don't know that I was a businesswoman. They just think I was a doctor and they say, oh, you're just a doc. I say, yes, I'm a doc, but I'm a businesswoman too. And I ran a business very successfully for almost 20 years. And that's just like, oh, you're kidding me. Okay, fine. No, I have nothing else to do but blow mess out of my nose and tell stories. I say, just Google it. And so that's about as negative I'll get, because it's just like, that's your problem. That's not my problem. I know what I've done. And both my husband and I, who's a doctor also, he's a PhD, when we've told them we're a doctor and doctor, I mean, we've been told liars to our face, because I have never seen, never less one, not less two of y'all in one place at one time, of color. And so we just look at each other and just smile and keep going, say, you can believe it or not. And so I would like to encourage people to give of yourself and just be visible. We have to show that we do exist. Whenever anyone thinks of people of color, you think of sports, you think of music, you think of rapping. You wouldn't ever question a person of color in any sport whatsoever. Well, so why should you question a person of color being a researcher, being a physician, being a major leader, a business owner? But you do. There are questions. Yeah, sure, right. We need to be more visible in everything we do because we're there. And we need to show the world that we are in all aspects, not just in music, not just in rap, not just in sports. We have a lot of intelligence and a lot of discoveries, a lot of future um, endeavors have been initiated by people of color that we don't even get recognition for. And then we're told how we can't do anything but something that doesn't require a brain. And that is what will bring out anger in me more than anything, that we can only do physical things where you don't have to think. Oh, so many things were done and started and initiated. The ideas were begun by people of color whose names have not been written down or even tried to be remembered, but just someone else who actually made a buck off of it and put their names on it are the ones that get recognition for it. We have a broad, beautiful history, and we need to to bring it forward and just exist and be acknowledged that we exist in all realms of life. And that's what my husband and I, that's our goals right now, to just exist and be visible. And we'll work our way through. We'll get to where we need to be, whether it's a direct route or a convoluted route. And it looks like it's getting to be more of a convoluted route, but we'll find the light one way or another one day when we're meant to.
Thank you, Dr. Bibbins, for sharing your extraordinary experiences and insights with us. We know that our audience has grown immensely from what you have shared and hope we can help document more living histories such as your own in the future. Please help us by completing a brief survey available at the link on your screen and also on the video description box. Your feedback will help NAHOF receive funding and help plan future projects. Additionally, please contact NAHOF with any questions and if you're interested in learning more about the organization and its work. Once again, thank you, Dr. Bibbins, for donating your time and contributing to this program. And thank you, the audience, for joining us on this educational journey, Black History Matters. We hope to see you at our next presentation.